Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toilets and Titles. My name is Justin Stevens. We're back with another episode of our flagship show on Tuesday nights. I've got my man George here. You guys see him with me on a whole lot of the in-season shows, and I'm occasionally a guest on one of his shows, the Sunday night show. But it feels good to have you in tonight. But with the topic, you can see the background. You guys know what the topic is. You guys see the familiar face below me. You know what the topic is. But with the topic being that the Fantasy Football Expo this August, I had to get my man George to come on. I know Tuesday nights are date night, so tell Jessica I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we do.
But I know you guys still got it in, man. So how was it? How was dinner?
Still got it in. Wait, but can you say that?
I mean, it's 2024. We can say what we want.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's fine. I just didn't know we were sharing that kind of personal information, but whatever. Yeah,
it's
I meant date, but okay.
Tuesdays is typically date night for me and the wife. Our local theater, they do a 50% off movie ticket, so it only costs like $1 million versus $2 million to go.
Yeah, right.
And so
and
typically
it's an extra $1 million for popcorn. That's all.
Well, and I splurged tonight. I did get her a small popcorn. Yeah. Typically we just, we go to the dollar store, put some food in our pockets, and we just go a couple of little things of candy. We go into the movie, and we watch a movie every Tuesday night. We go out to dinner, and Justin told me he had, he needed me to come here to fill some large shoes tonight. So I said, no problem, but I got out of work early, so me and the wife still went and seen Inside Out 2. We went and had a little bit of it was a good movie. I hadn't seen the first one.
The first one was pretty good. Yeah.
I had not seen it yet. We went and seen the second one though, because she loves the first one, and I'm like, yeah, we can watch the second if that's what you want. So we watched that. We did a little Mexican for dinner, and now I'm here spending time with Justin and Bob, and happy and honored to be here.
Cool.
And then Bob, I'm going to introduce you now, although I don't think we need to. I think everybody in the chat knows you. But Bob Long, pretty much, I called you in one of the group chats earlier. I just called you the maestro of the expo. You're kind of the coordinator.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, they trademark that. Put it on a shirt.
Maestro of the expo. Like it. Rhymes.
Bob, I was going to ask if you wanted to promote anything else before we talked about the expo, if you do any other work, but I mean, I was going to, ask about, driving.
The consistency guide.
Yeah, it doesn't work with that damn background thing, but you guys know what it is.
It's the consistency guide. Yes. It does it every year. It's a phenomenal guide.
So go to Amazon, get your fantasy football consistency guide, and check that out. And if you've never read it before, give it a shot. I always say it's not going to replace your main stuff. If your main site is, these guys, and you get all your top information from there, just look at the consistency guide as the French fries in your value meal, right? It's just an add-on. You read some stuff, you gain a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of salt and potato there, and next thing you know, hey, you draft a little more consistent team, you win a couple more games, you make the playoffs, you win the championship. That's how it all comes together, folks. So, yeah, give it a shot.
Right. And I always say, too, that if you're only listening to us, then you're not going to win as much as if you listen to several other people as well.
Oh, yeah. You should be listening to more than one site anyway.
Absolutely. I think I usually get 3 in pretty consistently. But let's see. David Genesis is in now. He says, I'll just buy or win mine at the expo like I do yearly. Okay, yep. That's it. He bragged about that last year. I remember that. He bragged about a few things. Him and his wife actually won a trophy that Break from the Grind donated. George and his group, him and Jason donated a Michael Irvin replica Super Bowl trophy autograph. So, yeah, the dude, and then he had twins. So, and he won a PlayStation.
He's busy.
He's winning at life is what he's doing.
He's going to have to get a lot of date nights. He's going to be a busy boy.
But for those of you that are in the chat right now, we are going to be giving away 2 free expo tickets tonight. So all you have to do, you have to follow us on, it's X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Toilets and Titles, but also follow Bob at Bob_Long and at the FF Expo. So make sure you're following all 3 of those accounts and you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Once we do the drawing later, I am going to double check and all that. Make sure you're following everywhere, and then you'll win the 2 tickets, and then I'll have to reach out to you, Bob, to remember how I go about doing that later.
Yeah, I will give you a special code for 2 free tickets.
Right on. But and then also drop a comment in there about what you're looking forward to with the Expo this year, whether you're a seasoned vet like myself and George, or if you're a first-time goer like my man Mark here in the comments. Just comment what your favorite thing is about the Expo, or what you're looking forward to the most. I know Mark is looking forward to everything because he's signed up for everything.
That's what you do, man. Yeah, if you walk away from the Expo ever once bored, there's a problem.
That's your fault. If you walk away from the
Expo
board,
right, exactly.
That's 100% your fault. You didn't try. You weren't engaging with anybody. You didn't ask any questions. Like, you just kind of showed up and did nothing.
Nonstop stuff to do from starting Friday at 6 p.m. till, well, basically, if you count karaoke Sunday night, which everybody will be in town for, it could be Sunday night or it could be Monday morning by the time we get done. But you can't walk away bored. So.
Yeah, you said comment where, David? Where you commented?
Yeah. You see where you commented, David? Comment there.
Comment in the comments.
We always look for time gaps where we can all get together as a team, like a Toilets and Titles team, and maybe come together with a couple other groups or whatever. But it never works out because we're so busy. What ends up happening is we just all happen to be able to eat lunch at the same place as another group, and we enjoy it that way. But I do want to say that we are going to get in our Frankenstank live draft right before the Friday night kickoff, because we did that last year, and I think that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, that worked out the best. Yeah.
I've already talked to jerseys. We've got the outdoor area set up. I do need like 2 or 3 more people to sign up for that. So if you guys are watching this and you want to draft in a live draft where Freddy Krueger is going to get drafted before Pat Mahomes, it's a pretty wild league, and the monsters have extra bonuses that they give your team and everything. So just reach out to us at Toilets and Titles or at JustinFF_, and I'll get you set up with that. But yeah. A lot of other stuff going on at the Expo, but we always try to kick off each show with some recent news. There's nothing big. Like, this is the off season. I think the biggest thing that I saw was, we have a few contract extensions. I guess we could talk about that. We got Michael Penix Jr. I only put him down here because it was 4 years, $22.8 million, and Cousins was 4 years, $180 million. So they're both getting a 4-year deal. Like, it's a lot of super close. There's a lot of money tied up in a first year or a rookie quarterback that they may or may not be using. But I've heard some of the arguments for that draft pick, and it actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. I just thought it was kind of crazy that they have that much money tied up in their quarterback position now. Ramondre is getting his, which kind of puts to rest a lot of the talks of people wondering if Antonio Gibson was going to come in and take a lot of his looks, because that's 3 years, $11.25 million for Gibson, 4 years for $36 million, and I believe it was $17 million guaranteed for Stevenson. So they're going to use them.
Yeah, no, they will. And but he also has his injury concerns at times. So I think if they're smart, they use them appropriately. I realize that Stevenson can catch the ball. That's great. But you also can't kill these guys over 17 games. I think the teams that play it smart, move these guys in and out, give them rest, give them time to recover. Again, New England's not going anywhere. They'll be battling for who gets the number 1 pick again next year, probably. There isn't much there. But
yeah, no, I like it. I kind of look at it as like Zeke Elliott last year had 51.5% of the snap share for the Patriots at running back, but a lot of that was because of the injuries that happened with Stevenson later in the year. If they can keep Gibson at that 30%, 35% range all season, then maybe that saves Stevenson. So yeah, it's a good point for sure.
Yeah, I definitely would handcuff. Especially if you like Stevenson as your RB2, I would definitely grab Gibson maybe round 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there where nobody's really probably going to draft him anyway, but get him just in case. But, when he does go down, because they don't have anybody other than Gibson. So.
And RB2 is where he's going now since the contract. It's kind of wild. I like the best ball drafts I did 3 weeks ago where I was getting him as a low end RB3.
Right.
Kind of nice. Trevor Lawrence. I know this is kind of old news by now, but we haven't done a show in a week. But Trevor Lawrence also got a 5-year, $275 million deal. And I think that's good for Jacksonville in that they're getting it done now before they have to pay him a lot more in a couple of years if he does well. But I just don't think that he's worth $275 million personally. But I'm a Colts fan, so am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I was shocked by that. I'm like, really? You're paying him? And I get it. He's a little younger, but I mean, give him $50 million, give him $45 million. God,
it's the market.
Yeah, I mean, prove your worth until you're. I mean, yeah, I get it. Maybe he does kick it in, and 3 years down the road, they're going to be like, "Oh, look at that! It was the greatest contract ever." Look at the savings. But damn well if he does do well. And quarterbacks are now at 60 million. He's just going to sit and ask for more anyway. That's what they do. So I mean, I know they're talking about Dak wants 60 million. I'm like, dear God, that'd be the dumbest thing ever. But it's Jerry Jones, so
he might.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, people, you can't let these guys at least prove their worth first. Just because they have a heartbeat and can throw a football 50 yards doesn't mean that they should get $50 million. But hey, what do I know?
In Lawrence's case, I don't think that with Trevor Lawrence, it's too much to say, like, when you get to the end of your contract, I'm just going to franchise you for a year, or maybe even 2, and see if you can prove yourself. If you are younger, like, if that's your reasoning, then, I
think he's got to prove it this year, though. I mean, I know he's been paid now, but, I think him and Dak both are in the, you need to do something more than just get by. Make it limp into the playoffs and then get your ass beat in the first round. So,
George, I know you guys just commented on contract extensions on Sunday night. I don't know if you had anything you want to add.
No, it's I mean, listen, the quarterback contracts are what they are. There were somebody I seen somewhere propose that maybe the NFL, and I don't ever see them go into this, but they have some sort of special column for quarterbacks for how much they can, like a cap on quarterbacks, and only quarterbacks. And I don't think the NFL would ever do that, but the average quarterbacks are getting paid way too much, in my opinion. I'm terrified of what the Dolphins are going to end up doing with Tua, because he's another one of those guys. Like, he still has a lot to prove. They haven't won a playoff game. Yes, he's led the league in passing. Yes, he's led the league in completion percentage. Yes, he had a really rocky start to his career coming off the injury. The whole, are they going to trade for Deshaun Watson? The coach not really putting any talent around him. He's gotten better the last 2 years, but he still really hasn't done a lot. So I don't I think they're going to give him the same kind of money they gave Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to get paid 50, 55 million. And it blows my mind sometimes that they're paying these quarterbacks who really haven't done anything to prove themselves that they're actually worth that kind of money. But like Tua said, it's the market's the market. It is what it is.
Yep. Absolutely. And then the last bit of news is the Charlotte City Council approved $800 million for renovating the Panthers Bank of America field. And then, George, you mentioned something about the Jaguars getting a renovation deal going as well. And that kind of takes away the 2 big teams that everybody wants to talk about when they're considering a team to get shipped over to England.
Which is a terrible idea.
Horrible. So
this is there's no reason they should do that. I don't care. If you want to have a few games a year, that's fine. If you want to move them to Brazil or Mexico or Germany, that's fine. I get that. Okay, that's cool. But don't put a franchise outside the United States, or at least not overseas. I mean, Mexico, I guess you could do, but yeah, it's just I can't imagine. They're going to have to fly back over most of the time to play against. Half their games are going to have to come over here anyway, and what are they going to do? Every other week, fly overseas? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't see where the money is unless, of course, England or London or somebody is giving them just, buttloads of money. But still, players aren't going to want to go there. They're not going to want to go play there. Uproot their families. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, they're eliminating 3/4 of the free agency pool every year because the top free agents are not going to want to go over to England. It's ridiculous that you would even consider that. I know it's been thrown around a lot online, but it was never going to happen. Jacksonville Jaguars they are like the English team over there, but
yeah, right.
They're not going to be moving that franchise. They never were going to move that franchise over there.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so when I was at Ball State, I was taking a lot of history classes at that time. I thought I was going to go down the path of being a history teacher. I had a particular class where I was supposed to incorporate geography with business in some way and like the whole economics of it and everything. And then I actually did look a lot into into this, and like you were saying earlier, the logistics of it would just be nearly impossible. But the best idea that I had came up with was if we did something like that, we sent a team to London, then you could set it up so that all 8 games that they have, home games, are all right in the middle of the field. And they have, back then there was only 16 games, but
right.
4 away games at the start of the season and 4 at the end. And then that away, they're only flying over there once. They're spending 2 months there, and then they're flying back. But again, a lot of them you're not going to go 2 months without seeing your family. So
right.
But that was all just part of the thought process that I had come over. Maybe even 4 weeks there, and then on the road in the U.S. for 8 weeks and 4 weeks back there. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that it should happen. I'm not putting anything past Roger Goodell as far as whether it will happen.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, money is money. I know how Roger works, but
according to the news here, the renovations for Jacksonville will include a roof to the existing stadium, which is nice. Mm-hmm. I think all stadiums should have a roof. I don't care where you play. Have a roof that's retractable. If you want to, get the snow in there for your elements, that's fine. Put a roof on it, but like have that option for the stadium and for the fans and the players. And then apparently this is supposed to be done by 2028. So the 2027 season is when Jacksonville is going to be displaced for a year. And they've been talking about playing possibly in Orlando, possibly in Tallahassee, and a couple other places. Maybe Gainesville. Gainesville was a strong possibility as well. But they'll be moving that franchise for that season while their new stadium is being redone.
Also, they're like really. Is Carolina going to push them out for a while, or is it just off season?
I don't think Carolina's doing as much renovation as Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't think that they're as far in the plan either. The city just approved the deal.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was today or yesterday when I saw it in the news. So
is Jacksonville Stadium really that bad?
Jacksonville Stadium is a dump. Okay. I went there when they played the 49ers last year. The stadium is a dump. It desperately needed to be redone, and the looks of this is supposed to be a very, very, very nice stadium, according to what the pictures of what it's supposed to look like.
So they're not tearing it down. They're just going to remodel around it and somehow make it better.
They're gonna do construction all around it on top, and make it look 1,000 times better.
So if you put a gold seed on a toilet, still a toilet.
Yes.
I feel like both of these teams have only been in the league for like 30 years, though, right? Like,
yeah, no, they started in the 90s. Yeah.
Did they start in old stadiums? Because I mean, that's not too long.
I would have thought they would have started in new ones, but I don't know. Maybe
hey, guys, if you're in the chat and you're making all these comments, also comment if you already have your tickets to the expo. So I don't want to give away 2 free expo tickets to somebody that's already got tickets.
Sell them on the black market.
But I currently have. I'm pretty sure that Bob Voitko probably already has his tickets. But
I thought he was already signed up. But yeah,
I would imagine. Like, mean. But then James Inslee, I've got you on here. Mark, I know that you said that you've signed up for everything. I'm sure you probably already have your tickets. I got you. Rich, I know you're not going to be able to make it this year. David already has your tickets. So it could just be James if this keeps up. But I do want to get to some expo talk though, since we're on that path. First off, one of the things you're going to see, you're going to want to do if you go to the Expo for the first time ever and you've never been to the Hall of Fame, you're going to want to go see and check out the Hall of Fame. It's absolutely phenomenal, and we do have 7 new inductees going into the Hall of Fame this year. So I'm going to read off the guys, and then you can just kind of talk about the guys, if you would, Bob, at least the ones that kind of stand out to you or mean something to you. But obviously, I'm a Colts fan. My guy Dwight Freeney is making it in only his 2nd year of eligibility. He's going to finally get to be there with Marvin and Peyton and back at home again. Randy Gradishar, 35th year of eligibility, linebacker for the Broncos, finally makes it in. Devin Hester, one of the greatest kick returners of our generation, at least, third year of eligibility. Andre Johnson, again, I mean, he was a Colt, but I mostly know him for how much I hated him when he was tearing up the Colts for the Texans. Steve McMichael from the Bears, 25th year of eligibility. Julius Peppers, one of the rare first ballot Hall of Famers, and then Patrick Willis of the 49ers after only 5 years of eligibility. But that's the rundown, guys. Those are the 7 guys. They're going to be at the end of the hall there. You got a whole lot of awesome busts to see when you go visit the Expo. But do any of these guys stand out for you, Bob, as guys that really kind of meant something to you when you think of the game of football?
Well, it's interesting because I said, as soon as I saw the list come out, and of course, living in Canton, Ohio, I literally have the TV on watching, the announcement, or I have it, on computer, whatever. Now, I drove for 34 years, so I was always like, okay, which guy am I going to drive? When I see the list. This year is my first year I retired. But when I saw this, I go, oh my gosh, every IDP fan in the world just jumped up and down yelling, finally. Like I have never in my years seen so many defensive players. I mean, other than, I guess Devin Hester is an offensive player, but we kind of think special teams with him because he is the first true special team guy, he was a wide receiver kind of, but he wasn't inducted as a wide receiver without
if you took his special team credentials away, he's not a Hall of Famer
anywhere.
He's not even remotely close
into the Bears Ring of Fame.
Nope, not even close. He's not sniffing either one.
But I always love when they put in. So every year they have the senior committee member. That, of course, this year is Randy Gradishar. And I, as a kid, grew up watching Randy Gradishar. And he was just a beast as a linebacker, just a beast. And I always wondered why he never made it. And that's why I love the senior committee is they grab these forgotten guys who, people are like, but then you watch the tape or you look at the numbers, you're like, what were they waiting for? Right. The rest of these guys are all just great defensive players. You said Freeney is a beast. Willis, Peppers, McMichael, and he was kind of more the 80s heydays with the Bears, team. Again, just an animal, but he was also had a great defensive players around him. So, and then Andre Johnson, I mean, whether you're an NFL fan or a fantasy fan, this guy is just, one of the top 5 wide receivers every year in his prime. Didn't matter who his quarterback was, And so, I mean, this is a very good class, but this is the kind of class I tell people, if any of these guys walk down the street without a jersey on, very few people would recognize them, and they deserve it, no question about it. But I always say, what is the star quality of this class? Of who would walk down the street and you would recognize. Now, granted, if you see a guy that's 6'8", but I'm just saying, in a crowd of
George.
people, maybe I would recognize Andre Johnson. Maybe I've probably seen him enough, playing, but again, just a great group, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the attendance at Hall of Fame weekend because it's like, okay, outside of Freeney bringing in the Indianapolis group, and Hester maybe bringing in the Bears. I don't know how many, the tens of Texan fans that'll come in. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of, because there's no Peyton Mannings, there's no, Tom Brady's or Drew Brees, any superstar type names, faces kind of thing. But definitely a well-deserved group, just, very defensive focus, but hey, the great is great. So
the one I would recognize the most, the easiest, honestly, is Steve McMichael. And the reason why is because I'm an old wrestling nerd, and he was a member of the Four Horsemen. He was in WCW.
Gotcha.
I reckon he did all the announcing. Like, I would recognize him just based off of his wrestling credentials, and that's about it. That's the only reason I would recognize him.
I love it.
The other one I might recognize would be Patrick Willis, but outside of that, like, I probably wouldn't recognize Andre Johnson, Devin Hester, Dwight Freeney. I wouldn't recognize any of those guys, to be honest. Yeah. If I'm just being honest, I would not recognize any of them.
Because again, from a fantasy perspective, we focused on offense.
Yep.
Now again, the Gary Davenports of the world, I'm sure Justin would recognize Dwight Freeney just because he's a huge fan and follower and Colts fan. But
I actually had to eat breakfast with him once. So
there you go, even better.
Yeah. And then one year when him and Mathis were on the same team together, I was managing a bar at B-Dubs and Anderson where they do their training. And Robert Mathis almost beat my ass. He actually chased me into the manager's office. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life.
you probably deserved it, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, I absolutely deserved it. It was all on me. Robert Mathis to this day is still one of my absolute favorite players of all time. I have his card over here right next to me. No hard feelings, Robert. If you're watching it, I still love you to death. That was on me. But he's a hell of a guy. Okay. All right. All right. So on to more about the expo. After you go check out the Hall of Fame on Thursday, you're going to get in there early and watch the Hall of Fame. We've got all kinds. Well, Bob, you have all kinds of events lined up for us, from the poker to flag football, draft night out, where I won a nice little ring last year. The Kings and Queens Classic. We got the parties on Friday and Saturday night, cornhole, and of course the expo itself on Sunday. I mean,
sports betting Saturday this year, that's new. So 4 hours on Saturday. So for those who aren't in draft night out and aren't going to, go into the hall, tour the hall and watch Kings Classic drafts, basically you other 500 plus people, that's what the sports betting Saturday is for. So 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., 2 stages full of the best in sports betting. They're talking about everything from prop bets to responsible gaming to, setting your budget, whatever the case may be. We've got it. Even got a sports betting 101 just to kind of help walk you through. I know there's a lot of people who are kind of like, but that was the thing. It's like, well, I figured they're kind of different people. I know they're not, but
our man Iceman
can go at 11. And then the DNO starts at noon, and it's literally right down the hill. So you could at least catch an hour of it. So
our man Iceman does a couple of different betting shows on our network, and he's pretty much only going to the expo because of the gambling side. So,
well, tell him if he wants to be on a panel, let us know. We'll definitely get him on.
Hey, right on. I will. I'll let him know. He may be watching. Sometimes he watches while he's at work, so he can't really comment. But I'll reach out to him and let him know for sure. Let's see. David is just like Mark. Those two they're just going to probably just walk hip to hip to every single event.
No, I love it. No, that's fantastic.
If you're gonna go, so I highly recommend getting there on Thursday. I'm a Thursday arriver. I will not be showing up on Friday ever again. I like getting there Thursday. You get in early. You get the badge from Bob. You get your little bag. Get to your Airbnb or hotel, whatever, and then you get that day to relax. You're not really rushed to do anything. You don't have any time restraints.
Right.
If you're feeling generous, you can go back up to the airport to pick people up that need a ride to bring them back. That's what I did last year. I made 3 trips to the airport.
We had
the first people I brought back was some guy by the name of Scott Fish. He wasn't very nice.
It rings a bell. I can't remember why, but yeah.
He cussed at us the entire time. I really couldn't believe it. Like his online persona versus him in person are just totally different. Like, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised. He's actually covered in tattoos, but like he hides them for the expo. It's just weird.
He tattooed his head completely bald. Like, who does that? So weird.
And there goes George's invitation to the Scott Fish Bowl.
He's out of the fish bowl forever.
I've already got my invite. I was in the first wave.
So a couple of things I do want to bring up. We are going to do a better job with transportation this year.
Okay.
So last year we tried one bus, didn't work. One, because the guy driving it was really old and was very slow, and it took him an hour to do a loop of Canton. I could walk a loop of Canton in an hour. But anyway, so we decided, so this year, what we're going to do is so I got 4 vans. So this company has 4 vans. So, I don't know, 10 passenger kind of thing. So not as big, but multiple. So we're going to have 2 routes. The DoubleTree will be a starting route every day. Now for Friday, obviously not. So we'll use all 4 of them. And then if you've been there, I don't know if you know what I call Hotel Hill. It's a little bit north when you get off the exit where all the mall is and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You can see it as you get off the exit, and there's like 5 hotels on top of this little hill. It's a big hill, rarely if you had to walk it. And so what I did this year was I only had in my group of hotels this year was just the DoubleTree and those 5. So then basically Hotel Hill is the other route. So for every event, every major event, there'll be 2 vans running from Hotel Hill to the events and from the DoubleTree to the events. And for Friday night, since the DoubleTree you can walk from it, there'll be 4 that'll make the rounds. I think it'll make things go better. People won't have to wait as long. There'll be 1 location to wait for them. Hotel Hill, you can kind of meet in the middle. It's right. There's like a little parking lot there. You can just stand there. They'll drive it in. You can't miss them. So I think that'll work better this year. I hope so, because I really want people not to be drinking and driving. I mean, it's just, and I know people do, and I've done it. And I can't say anything against it, but I just want people to be safe because I want them to come back next year. So, So I got a sponsor, and so we're going to get that done again this year and do a better job of that. So
awesome.
So excited about that because that's just something that always bothered me in my heart. So
now I know there have been people who have been known to consume one or many adult beverages, which is fine.
There's anything wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with that at all. The most popular place I heard is George's. Maybe they named it after me. Maybe they didn't. I'm just saying we shared the same name. We have the same likeness. But have you, or are you aware of have there been like any incidents with people attending the expo where they got in trouble? So I haven't either. And the reason I wanted to pose that question is I really wanted to let everybody know that if you're watching, like, yes, there's a contingent of people who go out and they have a good time, but like, it's really a family atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
This is an event to where you could, even if your wife doesn't bring or doesn't follow fantasy football, like bring your wife, bring your children. Like this whole thing, there's so much to do. There's so much going on, and it's really oriented towards the family environment. So don't be afraid to say, well, I was going to go, but I didn't want to bring my wife. That she wouldn't have fun. I guarantee you, she will have fun. Justin brings his nephews, and Coach has brought his son the past couple of years, and the kids have a blast at this thing. So don't hesitate to not be able to go because you got younger kids or a spouse or significant other who's on the fancy. Bring them. They will enjoy it.
And even better for next year. So 2025, they will have the water park done on the campus beside the Hall of Fame. It's 80% done, but it won't be ready for this year. but for next year, 2025, it will be open. So you can bring your family and your wife and kids or whoever can all go. If they're bored, just let them walk down the street and they can go into the water park, and it's an indoor water park, so it's even better. So if it's super hot, you wouldn't have to be burned to death. But and they are also supposed to put a hotel on the grounds behind the Hall of Fame. I will say that we won't ever make that the host hotel, and I'll tell you why. As much as it's really close to everything, there's no place to walk around to. So, we leave the DoubleTree and we kind of, tiptoe around downtown Canton to George's and to all the little bars. Well, there is nothing there outside of the hotel. There's just a gas station. So I feel like we'll still stay at the DoubleTree because everybody kind of likes that downtown feel. You can walk to, of course, we can walk to, the party for Saturday. And I'm not saying I don't want people to stay there. We'll certainly get it into the block of rooms and all that stuff. But, but I just don't know if I want to make it the host hotel because I don't want to take away that fun that the DoubleTree downtown kind of has. And, it's just a fun area. But we'll see. But they're supposed to have a hotel and water park done for 25.
That's awesome. And no, I'm kind of worried about guys like George taking over it. And, but before we get to the listener question here, since we're talking about the DoubleTree and all the hotels, do you happen to know if there are any other hotel or if there are any hotels right now that still have spots available?
So yeah, the Hotel Hill, which is what I call it, still has spots available in their hotels. So that's the Comfort Inn, Home 2 Suites, Hampton in Canton. There's one more. I should know it, but I can't remember it. I'm gonna type in. Don't know my own hotels. But I call it Hotel Hill. Basically, it's anything other than the DoubleTree that's on that list. But yeah, those all should be open. I have not heard from any of them that it's sold out. Now, if somebody tries to go to those hotels and it's not taking your thing, let me know. Because usually I can ask for more rooms. Like, I think I got like 30 or 50 more rooms from DoubleTree this year again. As always, they always start low and then I keep begging them. They're like, okay, fine, 10 more. Okay, how about another 10 more? How about 20 more? That's usually how it works. But yeah, so let me get to this. Here we go. Canton hotels. And for those of you who want to know where the hotels are, when you buy your ticket, it pops up to show you that list. If you already have your ticket, you just log in and there's a spot at the top that says Canton hotels. But yeah, so we've got now the Fairfield Inn Canton South is a little bit south of the town, but it is a nice hotel. It's just not in that transportation truck. But Comfort Inn, Hall of Fame, Home 2 Suites, Hampton Inn Canton, Resident Inn Canton, and Staybridge is at the bottom of the hill, right beside Fathead Brewery. So if you're a brewery guy, that's a place to stay. And we are planning on. You can just either walk up the hill, or our goal is to maybe they just come down the hill, go straight, and people would stand out there and wait for the van, and we'll pick them up there. But so all those are available. They're all nice. And they're different prices, Comfort Inn's a little bit older hotel, so it's $99 a night. The other ones are like $149, $159, $127, $142. So, but they're all going to be in that transportation track, I'll call it. So definitely check those out.
So for what it's worth, I actually rented 4 Airbnbs for our guys from the Toyless Titles Network. And then we had a few people back out kind of not last minute because we still have months, but we had a few people back out after I had sealed the deal. So I am renting out rooms for one of the Airbnbs for only $100 for the entire weekend. So, so I'm going to be losing a little bit of money on it, but it's going to help kind of recover some of that loss from the poor judgment call on my end to pick it so early. But
I'm sure if you just asked for the actual asking price, you probably still could get it.
yeah, because it's actually a pretty good deal, pretty sweet deal. But I also noticed that there's some more viewers than what we had when we started. I want to remind everybody at the end of the show, we're doing a drawing for 2 free tickets to the expo. So if you have not bought your tickets, Yeah, George is going to babysit Justin. He has to every year. But if you haven't bought your tickets yet, make sure you comment in the comment section where you're watching now, and make sure that you're following at Bob_Long and at the FF Expo and at Toyless Titles on Twitter. Give us a little comment about the expo, whatever, and make sure you subscribe to the show here on YouTube. And I'll do a drawing at the end. Of all the people that have been chiming in the chat and try to give those away. Bob, the next question actually is a listener question. He chimed in here from our man, Mark. He said, pretty much, I'll sum it up. He said he's going to do everything, but is there anything that he absolutely should not miss? If there's one thing that you had to suggest?
He should not miss buying all three of us drinks every time he sees us. That's really the most important thing.
Well, he's staying in the same Airbnb as me, so.
You know what I always tell people is if you don't miss the parties. I get it. You know, the people that are doing the panels, those are all very cool. And, you know, I don't want you to miss anything. But the parties are just so cool, just meeting new people, especially if you're going the first time. You know, you probably have seen people on Twitter forever, you know, and I'm talking even the big boys, right? The Bob Harris's, Howard Benders, Marcus Grants, Bob Harris, you know, all those folks. If you are a fan of them and you look up to them, please go talk to them and introduce yourself. They will be so happy that you did. They're the nicest people. You know, none of them have egos. You will never find an ego problem at our place, at our venue, or at the event. There's no trolls, even though I will say that Fantasy Receipts does come to the expo. Did you guys know that? Do you know who Fantasy Receipts are?
I don't know who runs the account. Yeah. I know.
But nobody does.
Yeah. I know of the account. I don't know who runs it, and I do know that they go to the expo, which is
they've been there for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they told me it's the best time ever. And I'm like, wait a minute. Are you telling me that the Fantasy Receipts are saying something positive? And they just laugh. And they're like, yeah, so we love your.
So it's great. Do you know the identity?
I do not. No.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, I told them, I said, well, you can tell me. I'll keep a secret. And they said no. But I think what it shows you is that though they have that persona, that they don't cause any stink. They don't say, you know, they enjoy the camaraderie and the friendship, and nobody knows who they are. Now, I could probably go through and go, okay, here's everybody who's went the last 3 years, and I know this person, you know, I could probably narrow it down, you know, maybe, but I'm not going to. You know, it's like good for them that they go. Good for them that they had a good time. They enjoyed themselves. You know, I'm not saying I agree with what they do, but hey, you know, everybody has a shtick, you know. We did have the fantasy football counselor want to come last year, and he didn't. He did reach out to me, and I told him, I said, you're welcome to come. That's all I said. You know, I'm like, yeah, you can buy a ticket. I wasn't going to come and get his ass kicked, but
after we get off here, I actually do have a question for you about a very questionable one. Just for personal reasons, I need to know.
Okay,
hey, Justin, is it me? I just need. It's me. Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I was going to ask you about places to eat in town, but you already kind of hit that up too, and.
Yeah, you know, and for the spouses, and again, I know there's some females that are coming in fantasy purposes, and maybe their spouses don't play, and that's okay too. But you know, there's two things that I would tell you. One is go to Gervasi Vineyard. It's in the middle of like an allotment, like a housing allotment. Like, you know, like there's houses on both sides, but it is the most gorgeous. Like you feel like you go back into this place and you feel like you're in the middle of Italy. It's just unbelievable. You know, and it's just perfect for the ladies. But again, you know, if you're a wine drinker, you know, I'm not a wine drinker. So, but they have a crush house. They have a distillery. They make their own rum. They make their own, you know, I mean, it's just an amazing place. You could spend hours there without drinking, just walking around the venue. So definitely check out Gervasi when you come in town, or, send the missus there. They have spas. They have all kinds of stuff there, So it's very cool. But yeah, there's just, Canton is the hometown US, Midwest USA. It's everything you think it is if you've never been there. Every place you can get anywhere you want in 10 minutes. So that's what's
David,
great.
if you have to bring the twins with you, David, Joe and Burrow, because his wife is a Bengals fan and he's a Steelers fan, so we make fun of them. So if you have to bring the twins, I'll babysit them while you go to the vineyard there.
So you go to Gervasi. There you go. You heard it. Yeah. Write it down. But no, it's So there's just a lot of good, fun places. I know Samantha's is a popular place for breakfast right down the street from the hotel. But there's also a Samantha's up north, close to Hotel Hill. It's a great breakfast place. I love it. There's just a lot of good home. And George's is like one of the best hamburgers, just that grease drips off kind of thing. It's good stuff. Yeah, you got to go and eat there once. It's just a lot of hometown fare. So.
All right, cool. David said that he found it, and then this comment right here is the reason why I usually don't give George control of the comments.
I was close. It was close. It's a vineyard.
If you type that in, I don't know that Google will even know what you're talking about, dude.
I took it from Google. They should know. I mean, it looks
like
I misspelled.
Because I've never heard of that.
I'll tell you exactly where it's at in just a second. I'll have to know.
Okay.
I'll have to re-Google it.
It's probably in Florida.
No, that's Europe. Too hot down here.
Yeah, that's true. It's too hot down there for the.
How did this expo all get started? Like, was this your child all along, or did other people?
Yeah. So, growing up in Canton, watching a couple of things all came together in my mind. One, growing up in Canton, watching the Hall of Fame weekend. It was like this mini small 2-day event. So like when I was 12, and my grandpa and my dad, and we went to the induction ceremonies, it was on the steps of the Hall of Fame, and we took our own lawn chairs to watch it. I don't remember who got inducted. It would have been like 1978, whatever that was. But, basically they had the parade Saturday morning. The parade would end. They would do the inductions, and then they would play the football game, all within back to back to back. And they had the dinner on Friday night to give them the jackets. That was the whole weekend. That was it. That was Hall of Fame weekend. That was all. Now it's a 5-day extravaganza with concerts, and the football game's nationally televised. The enshrinement has 25,000 people in the stands. And so I watched that become this thing. And being on the inside, I watched what they did, which was constantly kept people engaged. There are parties everywhere. There are things to do everywhere. Again, if you're bored during Hall of Fame weekend, it's your fault. So take that, and then I'm growing up, then I'm old, I'm growing up in the fantasy football industry because I started my consistency stuff back in 2002. And the more I gained the respect and the camaraderie with the people like the Bob Harris's, Howard Benders, Mike Clays, and I got to know more and more people, and I felt like there was a mutual respect. And this was probably 10, 12 years ago. In my head, I said, we should have like a thing here for fantasy football. It's perfect. And in 2016, I did put together what we'll officially call it the first kind of expo, but I sold it to the Hall of Fame that I could have a 1-day event there, and they brought in 3 Hall of Famers, and I brought in 5 of the biggest names in fantasy. So I had John Hansen, Mike Clay, Bob Harris, David Dodds, who was part of Football Guys, and Jeff Ratcliffe. And they came to town, and then they had Warren Moon, Anthony Munoz, and Chris Dolman. And so we had this panel, and it was just one room all day, multiple topics. I was the MC for all of them. And that was that was the first thing I put together with the help of the hall. And the problem is the hall wanted to sell it for $400 a person for 1 day. And I'm like, that's not going to fly. They're like, oh yeah, no, people love, they'll come in. Well, we were 3 weeks away from the event happening. They had sold 2 tickets. I don't know. And I said, they're like, well, what should we do? And I said, drop it to $99 and I bet you'll get some people. And we got about 50 people. And so it was a really great event. People loved it. You know, they got to take pictures and met Warren Moon and Munoz and those guys. And then it ended. And then over the next week, I had all these people that came reaching out to me. We're going to do this again. And the Hall of Fame said, yeah, but you know, you need to raise $30,000 to pay for this event. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, that's what they wanted to put the event on. And I had to come up with it. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So that killed that one. So then 2018 is where I put together the King's Classic. And that was kind of my start of, if I can get these guys to come to town and this becomes a successful event, this King's Classic, best of best, and we got Sirius XM to come, and it was a very good, big success. And that evening, we were all hanging out at BW3's chatting, and I said, hey guys, if you're going to be in town, what if I had like a little expo the next day? We'll have some panel discussions and trade show booths. And they're like, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah. So that's what I did for 2019. And that's kind of kicked that off. And we had about 75 people. And then COVID came. And I thought we were done. I thought it would never happen again. And then 2021, you know, vaccinations are coming out in February, March of that year. People were starting to ask me about the expo. And I said, well, I guess by that time, by August, we should be good, right? So I thought, well, we'll just put it out there and see what happens. And I thought I'd be happy if 100 people showed up, and 500 did, because everybody wanted out of their house.
Yep.
So that's exactly what happened. And so that kicked it off and brought it, you know, we're at 500. In the last couple of years, we've been around 700, 750, 800. And it's just became this thing that I thought it would get to someday. I never thought it would be that fast. And, you know, and I'm perfectly happy with that size. I mean, if we stay 800 to 1,000 people, I'm okay with that. You know, people are like, would you want it to get to 5,000, 10,000? No, because I feel like we'd lose that camaraderie, that fellowship. I mean, I can't imagine 10 times the amount of people that come now. You know, it just doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it would be fine. But, you know, I'm like, I'd be worried when we hit 2,000, you know, because like, you know, but that's how it all kind of came about. It just being in the, you know, here in the place that makes sense to hold it at. It's a low cost to put it on, because, you know, if you try and do this in Vegas or, you know, big city, you know, it's going to be out of control price wise. Canton is centrally located amongst a lot of major big cities like Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, you know, all those. So it just, you know, it kind of, the stars all aligned, and, you know, and now it's become the place to come to. And I'm honored and humbled that everybody supports this event. And, you know, from the top down, from the big boys all the way down to the new folks. And that's what excites me a lot, is every time there's a new person or a new company coming to get a booth, that just makes me smile, like, because it's like, wow, somebody new's coming to share their idea that I did 20 years ago when I had my idea, and Bob Harris and Howard Bender and, you know, whoever signed me on to allow me to write about consistency, because that's exactly how it happened. I don't get anywhere if, you know, the Scott Engels and, you know, those kind of people took me on and said, here, we're going to give you this opportunity. Now, there was no expo to do that, but at least I got, you know, and so doing that and getting new people to come and say, hey, I've got this new product and I heard you're the place, we need to come to this expo. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And so they come and they do their product demos, and the excitement that they have in their hearts is that same excitement I had 20 years ago when somebody said, hey, I want to help you promote your stuff. So, I'm just paying it forward, and so is everybody else. So it's very cool.
Right on, man. That was interesting. That was a lot better story than I thought I was going to get.
Explain, but
no, that's awesome.
I'm personally thrilled that Bob is taking up the lead for the expo and running it every year, because back in 2019 I went to SportsCon in Dallas. I think I've told Bob this before on the last time I did it, and
it always happens once that his internet goes out every episode.
And it's right when George wants to talk. Damn you, George.
Right when we were about to end the show too. So, all right, George, if you can hear us, go ahead and cut out your internet and come back. Bob, I want to ask you one last thing. Since we have a booth there, I actually got 2 booths, and I remember we have tickets to give away as part of our booth package. How many is that?
The $20 tickets. Yeah, the $20 coupons, sure.
How many of those do we get?
5.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking in the comments. I'm assuming that that Catherine and James Inslee are together. If you guys could comment, let me know if you are. I'm just going to let you guys have 2 tickets. If you need more, let me know. And then I'm pretty sure Mark already bought his. Bob Voitko's probably already has his. So Jerry Bagshaw, you're a Patreon supporter, man. If you're still in the chat, if you need your tickets, let me know. I'll get you 2 of them. I'll get the Insleys 2 or 3 of them, and we'll just go from there, because we didn't have a whole lot of other people enter in, so we don't have to do the actual drawing. But I see you blinking now, George. So I feel like your internet's back on.
My internet is connected for the time being. Yes. Sorry,
go ahead.
I said this 1,000 times. I live out in the woods. My internet, I have AT&T. They're the only one that would run internet out here, and it is absolutely not the greatest. But I do want to say congratulations. Yeah, they could be a sponsor if they wanted, but they're not. But I do want to congratulate the Insleys on winning the raffle. As they say, the odds were forever in your favor.
Yes.
All right.
But
so
you were talking about something before you got cut off, and I forget what it was. You had a question.
I was talking about SportsCon.
Right.
When we went to SportsCon in 2019, it was fun, good time. I was saying that's where Draft Night Out was born. That's where we held our first ever Draft Night Out in Dallas. But that was all like it was basically a glorified autograph signature event. Like, they didn't cater at all to the fantasy community or the fantasy world. We had so many people come to us and tell us that if Draft Night Out was the best thing that they had there, and it wasn't even remotely close, and that if it weren't for Draft Night Out, they probably would never ever come to SportsCon, or they would have regretted that they even went. Because, and I don't want to bash SportsCon. I don't think that's what I'm trying to do, even though I kind of am. But I'm really grateful that you put together the Fantasy Football Expo, where it's really geared more towards the fantasy and the fantasy community. It is an absolute great time. And like Bob said earlier, if there's somebody that you're a fan of or that you listen to, don't be shy. Go up and talk to them. Like you mentioned Bob Harris. He's almost as bad as Scott Fish. Don't get me wrong. But Bob will talk to you. He'll shake your hand. He'll take a photo with you. But everybody there will be absolutely just the kindest to you. And it's absolutely a great time.
Yeah. And just because it looks like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, because I am, please stop and say hi to me. A lot of people always say that to me. They're like, oh, I saw you like 3 or 4 times and I was going to say hi and introduce myself, but you looked busy. I'm always going to look busy. Please come up and stop me from being busy. I beg you. And I appreciate that. I do. But it's just like, at the end of the weekend, I kind of look at my wife and she goes like, did you meet anybody new? And I'm like, no, not really. I saw people. but I can't. It's me against 800 people.
I promise you
So
that
I'm telling people, come say hi. Say, hey, Bob, I listened to you on this show or that show or whatever. So
sounds great. We have a couple that are first timers. I promise you, I will bring them up to you and introduce you, so that you can tell your wife yes.
And if you come up with an adult beverage in hand, he will stop to talk to you. Don't think he won't. He absolutely will.
Captain Morgan and Diet Coke preferably, but
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I like it.
But no, thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure. Love you guys. Still have the best site name and logo I could in the fantasy industry by far. Just love the monkeys and the toilets, and it's just great. I love it.
I appreciate that. We actually don't even have that one up here right now, and you still remembered it, so I appreciate that. And we're going to be steering back more towards that logo as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, guys, don't forget patreon.com/toilets-to-titles. Please continue to contribute and help us out. Make sure you're following Bob at Bob_Lung on Twitter and at the FF Expo for all of the updates and information about the Expo. Bob, you did this last year for us, and I'm hoping to make this a yearly thing where you come on and talk.
Absolutely.
This is a great time. You're a phenomenal dude. We really appreciate your time and your effort, man. Like it doesn't go unnoticed. Every year we talk about it as a group.
And I appreciate that. I know everybody. This community is my best marketing, my best marketing department. When people ask me like, what do you do for marketing? I go, I have 850 people on Twitter that constantly talk about it every day. And they're like, how did you do that? I go, I didn't do anything. I just put the event on, and then they just love to talk about it. And I love that they love to talk about it. So yes, I have my own marketing department of 850 people. There we go.
Here's a marketing tip that we need to get going for this year. If you're going to be at the Expo and you're posting anything on any social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, hashtag FF Expo 24. And then this way, like if you want to go back when everything's done and you have a minute to breathe, you can go back, look at all the photos and all that stuff. So
especially when you're here taking pictures, use that because it's so fun to type that in and then just scroll through the pictures. Because I miss so much stuff, obviously. Now my daughter and her fiance, they're the one running around taking pictures. So obviously they give them a lot of them to me, but I don't get to see everybody else's pictures who are taking pictures. And so it's so cool when they post them and put that on so I can check them out. Cause I usually download them and keep them, and we use them for hype videos and all that kind of cool stuff. So.
Right on. Well, again, appreciate your time, and stick around, Bob. I do have one last question for you. But and I want to remind everybody too, I'm going to be coming on Bob's show here in 2 weeks as well to talk about the Expo again, but also
talk more about you guys. It's about
the Frankenstank and all that sort of stuff. So make sure you're tuning into Bob's show. Bob, where can they find that?
YouTube, FF Fantasy Football Expo on YouTube. All of the sponsors, all the exhibitors, we're trying to make sure we interview all of them so you know who they are, what they're about before you get to the Expo. So that way it's much easier to, maybe you see somebody's got a really cool product and you want to talk with them. So that's what it's all about, just promoting the sponsors and the exhibitors and letting you know who they are before you get there. And you get to put some names to faces too. That always helps. So we love doing that, and we're excited to get you guys on as well.
So if you've liked this last hour of talking about the Expo, something that you're looking forward to in 2 months, then imagine an entire series of it. So make sure you're checking out Bob's show. So I think that's all we have for tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm taking next week off. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll be doing a Scott Fish Bowl mock draft after I'm done with Bob's show. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.